Okay, shall we start? Okay. Okay, so okay. Okay. All right, let's start the next session, which happens to be also the last regular lecture session. Okay, so far,
Shall we start? You have some other work to do? We'll just finish this lecture, okay? Yes. The signature you can get later. Okay. We'll start. Yes, sir.
okay. So this morning we did look at what the AI is about, specifically machine learning and generative AI. Okay, now we are going to look into, it has so much power, but it has also can be misused, abused, or used wrongly, whatever you want to call it. And the question is, how do you regulate it? Okay, countries after country, whether it's the Middle East, whether it's Europe, whether it's Asia, whether it's the United States, we're all concerned about AI being misused. Okay, especially when it can violate basic human rights. Okay, so that's why this is a major issue. Okay, sometimes it's called the responsible AI, sometimes it's called ethical AI. I mean, slightly people mean different things, but basically we will treat this same. Okay. Usually ethical means is follow some established philosophical or personal guideline, whereas the responsible means more than that. Okay, essentially, you shouldn't be making mistake, you shouldn't be hurting, all those things. Okay. Okay, now first, okay. Okay. So, I would like to stand like this so that I can myself see the view graphs. Okay. What is responsible AI? Okay, different people have different definition, but that one I like so far is one by Microsoft. Okay, and of course Microsoft being in the forefront of both software technology and AI, but ChatGPT was often funded by Microsoft, or part of it at least. Okay, so Microsoft defines responsible AI as a framework for building AI systems according to 6 principles. Okay, so those principles are fairness to people you deal with, reliability and safety. In other words, it shouldn't lead you to doing things that can harm physically, mentally, and so on. For example, a ChatGPT shouldn't be asking you to go and commit suicide. Okay, you describe how lousy you feel. It should tell you go and see a psychologist rather than say, hey, you are hopeless, go and commit suicide. You should be doing that, okay? And privacy and security. And of course, that's sort of what we are concerned about in this group. So that's definitely one of the principles. And inclusiveness. Inclusiveness usually means people of different background. In other words, you shouldn't be tailored to, in America, what we call just white men alone. Okay, here you should be tailored to some upper caste. Okay, and it should be transparent. Transparency is a major issue. The reason is, a lot of AI systems don't tell you or explain to you why it came to the decision. okay? Increasingly, they are required. In the past, they will simply tell you, this is the decision I made. For example, when I interacted with the ChatGPT, I asked you, why did you come to this conclusion? You should prompt explicitly. If you don't prompt explicitly, it may not even give you. So generally, you should be transparent. In other words, the decisions or the recommendations making, it should tell you why and how it got to that conclusion. Okay, and accountability. Any decision the system makes, you should take responsibility. Okay, it said, oh, I made this recommendation because I had this data in me. Okay, but the other says, this is the data I have, it's pointing to 90%, and this is what I should do, that's why I'm doing it. That's more accountable. Okay, so if somebody asks you what's responsible AI, there may be many definitions. We will go by this definition. Essentially, it's a framework by which with this principle, you build AI systems. Okay. Any question on this? Is there anything is missing? You may think like bias. Bias is sort of a captured in fairness. Okay. You may think a few other things missing. Hopefully, they're all in one or the other. Discrimination is already in the inclusiveness. Okay. Okay. So why is responsible AI becoming a battle cry nowadays? Because already it has made a lot of big mistakes. I'll tell you what they are, just a sample of them. Okay, so Amazon, there's a covert AI hiring tool displayed bias against women. The machine learning basically tended to favor men as ideal candidates, reflecting the predominance of men in the computer industry, and so the data. The tool was removed from production in 2018. In other words, it took a while before they understood, because often companies like Amazon get thousands of resumes. Nobody reads them. The human resources even depend on technology like this to filter resumes. So if the AI system did not recommend, they won't even look at it. So they probably lost a lot of women for specific jobs, okay? And that's what happened, and then they found out. And privacy violation. In 2024, Clearview AI, a US-based facial recognition company, was fined for over 30 million by Netherlands, okay, Data Protection Authority. So Europe has a good GDPR, and they fined was issued for creating an illegal database containing billions of facial images scraped from social media and other websites. See, a lot of facial recognition requires a database of facial features, people's features, and they got all of them from without their knowledge, without their go-ahead, that type of. Okay, so rising significant ethical and privacy concerns when building databases to train AI. So, in fact, New York Times has sued ChatGPT for stealing a lot of their articles which are used in training ChatGPT. There's so many articles it used without asking New York Times. New York Times articles are copyrighted, so are many other things. As you probably know, New York Times is one of the leading newspaper in the US, and it's considered very authoritative as well, okay? And, okay, so, so the first one is bias, second one is privacy violation, and then the national security concern, okay? The use of deep fakes, synthetic media in which the likeness of a different person replaces another and existing image or video. Can you imagine some leader of Hamas agreeing with the Israeli Prime Minister Netanyahu and shaking hands. And if DeepLake produces that kind of image, they all agreed, everything is peaceful, that type of stuff, okay? It could happen because you take image from there and put this together. Okay, so I'm just showing you here one that's not so, security, but it's still funny. Okay, you know the person on the right side, right? That's Elon Musk. The person on the left, okay, Elon Musk is a, multi-billionaire, and very conservative. He has his own way of telling what to do. He's very much involved in now reducing the federal government in the US. The other one, okay, her name is essentially Alexandria Ocasio-Cortez, who is an extreme liberal politician, fairly poor, from New York City, and they don't agree on anything. They don't agree on anything, period. And this captures as if they are lovers, okay? Okay, so, walking in the beach, so everybody knows this is a joke. But the point is, if you didn't know or they are somewhat coming closer, then you would think they are actually dating each other. Okay, that's just not true. Okay, so anyway, so I put this picture because this is a deep fake, but in this case, it's supposed to be a joke. If you understand the U.S. politics, you would know. But the main point is these kind of things can really create impression that's just not true at all. Okay. Okay, now close to home, that's India. Deep fake attacks have victimized several. You can go and read this article. Several prominent Indians, including Ratan Tata, Sachin Tendulkar, not Narayana Murthy, and Priyanka Chopra. In the case of Ratan Tata, the deepfake gave the impression is giving you some, before he passed away, he gives you the financial advice. And then Sachin Tendulkar, he is advertising or supporting a product, which he never did. And Priyanka Chopra tells how much money she has and also, in support of a product. And Narayana Murthy again, selling some software tools are great for personal financial management, which he never did. So all these things, they were using their reputation to advertise or support products which they never have, okay? And also it has shown how Bollywood actors and actresses in a posture that they would never like to see themselves advertised as, okay? So if you go to the article, you'll see some more how deepfake has been creating false stories, but make it very believable, okay? I can click that link, but that's not what we should be doing. You can go and take a look at it, okay? Okay. So with all that, already there's the bias issues, there's, fake news, and people are already very concerned, okay? So right now, country after country is trying to come up with a regulation. US, we don't have a regulation, but the state level, there are a few. But the one legislation that is full in effect, always EU. EU is the one that comes to privacy, GDPR. Again, they are ahead of many other countries on the EU Act. Okay, UA Act. Covers almost every party in the life cycle. Okay, it's very comprehensive, just like their GDPR. Okay, so what does it do? It basically a risk-based approach, depending on the risk that the AI system can do, it puts some regulation on each one. Okay, so generally, certain AI systems, practices that are unacceptable risk, I will come to it in a minute, they are not allowed. Usually they affect human beings in a very bad way. Okay? And then they're coming up with the systems, the high risk AI system, but they have a lot of high benefit, like in industries such as finance, or because it can be very useful. So there's a lot of risk, but then a lot of benefits, there are standards for that. And then systems that don't belong there, what they call general purpose AI, GPA models, there are some rules, okay? So let's start with the first one, the prohibition on AI practices that pose an unacceptable risk, okay? Okay, so basically, anything to do with violating common decency or violating an individual person, it is not allowed. If a system tells you, you drink on the street, you're drunk, you can't use that in your data, okay, to tell these people are essentially will never be good. Okay, so anyway, systems that evaluate or classify individuals based on their social behavior, like drinking, okay, in a bar. You shouldn't say this person is not good to be employed or a particular job. It's no. You can't, you should never evaluate people on their behavior, okay? Okay. Emotion recognition system at work and education institution. You should, if a person looks angry, in the job, essentially the system should never say this person is just angry all the time, that kind of stuff. Essentially, in other words, you can't come to a conclusion about anything based on individual behavior that often changes, but you captured them at the wrong moment. It's essentially intrusion. It's a privacy violation. That's sort of the reason. Okay, also scraping of facial images from the internet or closed circuit televisions for facial recognition, that's a no. Okay, see, okay, for example, when I'm coming from Chennai here, this security guard asked me, the clearance, you are perspiring. You have any, what's going on? I said, it's too hot, okay? He thought I have something to hide. That's why I was sweating. Okay, for me, anything above 70 degrees, I sweat, okay? And he thought I may have something to hide. Okay, so remember, they captured at that moment and then used it in later security system. They will have a suspicion I'm carrying something that I want to hide, okay? So that's the kind of thing you shouldn't be doing, okay? So actually it happened in Chennai airport. This guy asked me, because he asked me because people sweat because you have something you are carrying that you're not supposed to, okay? But I was sweating mainly because it's hot, okay? Anyway. Scraping of facial images from the internet or closed circuit television for facial recognition databases. And a system that exploits people's vulnerability, like I may be sweating. I'm usually a person who sweats. Okay, if that's the case, I could be caught everywhere, or be scrutinized much more than I need to be. Okay, so. And the first one is, these things, you cannot have AI system on any of these areas, like this area. Because that's basically misusing people's vulnerability. The high-risk AI system are the following. The high-risk AI system are those that pose a high risk to the health, safety, and fundamental rights of EU citizens, but have significant socio-economic benefits. So it has a lot of potential, but then it can also, pose risk. It could be, for example, good diagnostic system. Okay. It has a lot of good things, but it could go everywhere. And continuous risk for this thing, the recommendation is those systems should be continuously risk monitored throughout the life cycle. See how it is doing, whether bias is there, whether it causes serious side effect, that type of stuff. The data collection has to be rigorous, testing and usage to avoid bias. Okay, the bias, I've been using the word bias. What is bias? Basically, if a training data set doesn't capture the true nature of population at large, then it's a bias. Okay, so if you have 100 people, 51% are women, 49% of men, your data set should be along nearly the same percentage. If 49%, 51% of women, 25% of them college degrees, your data set should have nearly same amount. Okay, so essentially, it should be a good reflection of the community you're trying to solve. Okay, if you're, for example, if your system is more interested in the predicting breast cancer possibility, there's no reason to include men. Of course, men also get breast cancer, but chances are your data should be mostly on women. Okay, so it depends on what serving you're serving. Okay, so if you expect, women over 50 get more breast cancer, you should have more proportionate. But that doesn't mean there are women who get breast cancer even in their 30s, for example. So it should be a true reflection of the population you're trying to serve. Okay. Comprehensive technical documentation, including regulatory compliance effort. So design have to be documented. The code has to have be good commented. In other words, anybody can come and take a look at the system, and they can audit it. It was done correctly, both the data as well as the code or design or whatever. Okay, so usually ChatGPT, other things will say it up front, it's an experimental system, don't trust it. Okay, informing users the type of system that are interacting with up front. Google does that. This is a generative AI, this is experimental. So, trust me only to the extent you want to trust me. Don't trust too much. And it should, the banner should be made as a part of the output it generates. And it also requires, during runtime, generating system logs so somebody can go and see what happened in the past. This is sort of usually what we do for any mission critical system. There will always be a log, that type of stuff. So again, this is now becoming a part of law. A lot of it is a good software practice, but now it is a law in Europe. And at several levels, it should be a fundamental human rights impact assessment you should do, such as from the time requirements are written, specifications are written, testing. Every time you have to check whether it is impacting basic human rights. Okay, let's just do. So the EU Act is very comprehensive and it's also penalty. Okay, And rules for general purpose AI models. You should respect EU copyright. That means you shouldn't steal data that are copyrighted, or your data should not be, your training should not be based on copyright data, or you have to get permission. Making publicly available detailed summaries of training data sets. So nothing should be hidden. Essentially, you cannot claim my data is private. Okay. Okay, so the systemic risk is more to do with how much computing power they use. Okay, this is again, if you know floating point operation, must meet some additional obligations such as documenting and reporting serious incident to the EUA office. In other words, any system that uses a lot of computing power, you have to report to the EUA office, okay, periodically. And the penalty, just like the privacy violation penalty can be very high. Year of 7.5 million or 1.5% of worldwide annual turnover, whichever is for various non-compliance. So again, I'm sure there are a lot of details here, but they're pretty strict. The way they will punish you is not necessarily jail term, but penalty. Okay, so you may not be able to even operate your business. Okay, now let's look at India. So India does not have still any AI regulation, okay? But it will get there one of these days, because just like India's privacy policy came more than 10 years after European Union's privacy policy, it will happen. But right now what it has is broad principles of responsible AI. Okay. So they have a lot of guidelines and initiatives aimed at ethical AI development and deployment. The Ministry of Electronics and Information Technology, MeitY, leads this effort. Okay. Okay, so if you look at this, India broad principle of responsible AI is very similar to Microsoft AI. I put this in. Okay, so this is the principle of safety, reliability, principle of equality, inclusivity, privacy and security, principle of transparency, principle of accountability, and principle of protection and reinforcing. So let's go back to Microsoft. So it's very similar to Microsoft, not that much different, okay? So that's why I actually picked up Microsoft, because it's close to what India thinks it should do, okay? And so that is, so India's principles are very similar to Microsoft, okay? Okay, let's go back. Okay, so, and the agency that came up with this is called NITI, National Institution for Transforming India. This is an India think tank. Okay, I don't know how many of you heard of it. It's a think tank in, and they are the one who came up with this, okay? And, in practice, the Ministry of Information Technology is responsible, electronic information, finally. They are leading, but these are think tanks. So it's more at the very researchy level. Okay, so India is also trying to operationalize these principles, how to put this into effect without having a law right now, okay? Again, India is very risk-based, policies and intervention based on the risk profile. So just like EU, they're going to divide system into various risk categories and going to issue policy. They are not there yet, but that's what they'll do. And the government is going to be very much involved, not the private company, but they do have private sector, but government is going to do capacity building for AI. It's going to create awareness, they're going to do procurement strategies. So the government is going to be very much involved. It's not many other countries, it's the private companies, whereas India is going to be government involved. But they're going to somehow incentivize ethics by design, okay? I don't know whether they'll give priority for in procurement, but the whole idea is if you design ethically AI, essentially you may get a break in various categories, okay? Creating framework for compliance with the relevant AI standards and guidelines. So basically they are leaving to industry how to comply, so which is good because the systems will be eventually developed by industry. So, they are asking the industry to create the framework for compliance. Okay. Okay, before I go into compliance, a lot of you are already using ChatGPT and a few other things. There are some tips how to use it until real regulation come about. Here are some tips for using ChatGPT and similar system. Review and edit generated text for accuracy and quality. Don't assume whatever is generated is correct. Treat generative AI as a starting point rather than a finished product, okay? And use it for repetitive or time-consuming tasks that don't require creativity or originality. Okay, so here's the point. You're worried about it's going to kill creativity. What they're basically saying is use it for more regular stuff. You're just lazy to do it for yourself. But for creative part, don't even consult it to begin with. You do it on your own, okay? So that means, to a large extent, should you encourage students to write papers using ChatGPT? Probably not. ChatGPT is still telling you, don't use me to first generate a paper, okay? Maybe after generating the paper, you can ask ChatGPT to review your paper. But will students follow it? Probably not, okay? Because everybody last few days before at 11 p.m. at night, they're going to look for a shortcut, okay? So still the question is how do you regulate? But anyway, that's sort of what ChatGPT tells people who are developing ChatGPT are telling you. Must display a warning that generative AI is experimental, okay? Okay, now we have about 20 minutes, okay. Okay, now what is AI compliance? Okay, so because the next session in the we're going to look into policies, but usually why you write policies? If you write policies, the idea is you have to check whether you comply with the policy. In other words, policies basically provide a way to ensure everything is done correctly and you're complying. So if you comply to a policy, that means you're complying to anything you build according to policies. Okay. So AI compliance is a process that involves making sure that AI-powered systems are compliant with all applicable laws and regulations, and even guidelines. Because in India, we don't have laws, but are you still supposed to follow guidelines? The problem is if you're not law, if you don't follow, there's no way to enforce because it didn't pass through parliament, so it doesn't have a teeth. But companies can still enforce it because they can say you won't have a job if you don't build a system with the right ethically AI. Or the marketplace can punish, but legally you cannot punish because there's no law. Okay, so there's sort of you have to understand the difference between guidelines and law. Guidelines, yeah, you can take it or leave it, whereas law means, or regulation means you've got to follow it. Okay. Okay. Now, AI compliance include verifying following. The training data, the data used to train AI systems is collected and used legally, ethically, and with permission. Okay, you have to get permission. Often nowadays, a lot of the systems haven't gotten all the permission. Discrimination bias. AI-powered systems are not used to discriminate against any particular group or individual, and are not used to manipulate to see people in any way. Okay, I'm pretty sure what's going to happen is it will get into the hands of criminals, especially the cheap one. Anybody do that? The one from China, for example, because anybody can use it. So it's very. The problem with anything is not that expensive. It's easy for the criminals to use it as well. Okay. So that's sort of my worry. Whenever you think something is less expensive, but it has also consequences because more people will use it, more people will also abuse it. So that's sort of the price you'll pay. So not everything is cheap is good. Sometimes you have to keep it very high so that, only you can afford it, you can do it. But again, you might say only rich companies can afford it, which is not good also. So it's always a fine line whether things should be too cheap, okay? And privacy violation, of course. Nobody uses the AI-powered system to invade individuals' privacy or cause any harm to them. More importantly, any data you train should be devoid of private information. It should be cleansed, okay? So this is what AI compliance means. Okay, so, the reason why you come up with all the AI laws or regulation is you check for all these things. Hopefully you can automate all these things with AI itself. Okay, so sort of a vicious circular, but that's what you can do. Okay, so I'm just going to go, okay, so I gave you big, very high level overview of AI. I am sort of worried that you probably didn't get it much. So what I suggest is, I have several references. You should read them. So this is for this session. I should have it in the previous section. Anyway, go through all the references in the previous section also. That has a lot of references for basic AI, machine learning, generative AI. Please read them, you'll get more out of it. And then this part is essentially what is the European Union AI Act is. And it's very well written, it's from IBM. And the principles and the operation principles from Niti Aayog. And I didn't talk about the AI compliance in other countries. This is a good paper. AI regulations around the world, trends, takeaways, and what to watch heading into 2025. So, for example, in the US, there is state level like Colorado has already AI regulation, not at the federal level. Many other countries have something. I think countries like Singapore is way ahead, but they're not quite there yet. And the last one is AI compliance, what it is and why you should care, okay? And because it's going to affect all of us, and it says why. Okay, so that is the section, and in the afternoon we'll come back and craft a responsible AI. So I am about 15 minutes ahead. Okay, I will leave it to you. Oh, before I turn it over, do you have any question on responsible AI?
How does AI create bias?
Piracy?
Bias. You were talking
Oh,
about
okay,
bias.
very simple. So what happens is, it's a lot to do with data set. See, for example, if I have 1,000 people's data and 800 of them are men, 200 of them are women. and then 800 of them, they have an engineering background. And the 200 of the women, only 10 of them have engineering background. Then you feed into the system. Then you ask, okay, tell me, essentially what qualities I need, who could be an engineer, what the system is going to do. It's going to say most likely men, most likely somebody who is under 30 because he's a great coder, and that type of stuff. So if you put a lot of good coding people from Tamil Nadu, it's basically going to say somebody from Punjab is not quite ready. Okay, so essentially your data should be a good representation because from the data you give, it's only going to say if you pick a woman, chances are she may not be a good engineer. Okay, because your data was skewed, but also in the case what happens is country at large, there's still a lot percentage-wise, there's less women engineers than men. But in spite of the fact that you can come across an engineer, woman engineer who is better than everybody else. So the bias is essentially, the data itself is wrong, and also you have to adjust the data. That, in other words, it only represents today's world because today's world is built on some bias already. So you got to eliminate that bias. Just because in today the less women does not mean tomorrow's woman is not qualified. So that is how you collect the data so that you make sure the system is not biased. A lot of bias is with respect to the data you feed in. Okay. So all these AI systems are based on the data it has. It basically tells who is a good programmer. It's going to say, in America, white male. Is that true? Okay, probably it's not. Okay, but if you put a lot of Indian American in the database, it'll say, oh, every one of them is a great hacker. Okay, so that's why, which is not true also. I don't want to be thought of Indian American as only good in IT. We are good in a lot of other stuff. So there's a lot of bias. In fact, people have bias all the time based on few instances they look at. Do you want the AI system to, we all have bias based on what we see. We know exactly, when you see somebody, we have this mental picture of what that person is. Usually it's biased, okay, because our sample only represents certain small amount, and you don't want the AI system to be biased, okay? So usually companies allow bias by constantly teaching you, just don't go by experience. Look at the data, okay? And in the case of AI, look at the data. If the wrong data is still wrong. So that's what's happened. I think bias is sort of built in, and you don't want the system to be biased as well, okay? Okay, anyway. Any other question?
Is there any tools for predictive AI?
Sorry?
Predictive AI.
Yes.
Is there any tools for predictive AI?
Oh, a lot. In fact, most AI systems, at least until recently before generative AI, they're all predictive systems. Is it something you could use directly? I don't think so, but there's a lot of AI technology you could use directly. Okay, so there are algorithms for various types of AI algorithms. They're all, you could just use it. You may still have to do some coding around it, not Python necessarily. Python is one of them. There are also, what's that called, MATLAB. You need to write MATLAB code. Often, a lot of the problem is not the use of AI. You have to first cleanse the data so that system can use it. Good part of your time spent on cleansing the data. Okay, so, but yes, there are things, but you may still need to do some programming, okay, like MATLAB, Python, okay. Yes, yeah, there are. My suggestion is you should take a course in, there are a lot of open courses, like Coursera. You'll get a lot out of it, then you should know, okay. Yes, but again, it requires some programming. but not much.
Few more minutes. Yes. Okay. Sir was talking about generative AI systems, chat GPTs and others. Have you tried creating a policy using AI? Can you try it? Yesterday you were all writing. Second day assignment? You used AI? Chat GPT and AI in order to try. Maybe if you have your laptops or mobiles, you can just ask chat GPT to create a policy for you or a personal ethics statement for yourself and see what it uses. Okay, we have 5 or 10 minutes now. And for your question, predictive AI, we don't have AI tools as such for predictive AI because it becomes domain specific. So for general AI has been used, but there are a lot of ethical issues that keep cropping up, and we have not yet, this is a new technology, that has come up in the last 3 to 5 years, and it has gained traction similar to ML black box models that were there earlier, and now we are currently evaluating how this generative AI chat GPT can work. The good side of it is it gives us a lot of information. The bad side of it is the ethical issues we face. The bias, the ethical issues, and the curbing of creativity that happens. Making PPT was a man's job. Now AI can do that. So what is it that AI can do? Later on, AI will take this course. You don't need a faculty here in order to do this. So that is how the progress envisions. But always remember, AI cannot replace human beings. AI have been created and they can only to a certain extent think. The creativity, the innovation or the feeling, emotion, yes? Originality also AI can give. Mixing, matching, just making into we make kadambon சொல்லுவோம்ல எல்லா மிச்சம் இருக்கிற எல்லா காயும் போட்டோம்னா ஒரு குழம்பு வந்துரும். So we just mix and match everything together, we say it is new. That's what AI claims to be originality. So AI can be innovative also. It can give you innovative solutions, but will the innovative solution be feasible is what a human being will have to find out. They are using generative AI techniques for the Gaza-Israel war. And but when you read the fine print, the generative AI tells which locations they have to drop the bomb. A list is given to the defense people, and an officer checks them individually. Every day they drop 500 bombs. So for that 500 locations they give a instruction, and there is an army officer checking. I was going through all this because it was so interesting how they are in real time using it. Because in Israel you have a room like this, they will drop a bomb so that only I will die, all of you will live. That's how they do precision targeting. They correctly identify, then they call each one of you. If the whole room is gonna collapse, they will give a mobile call to you, make you evacuate the room, and then I will be destroyed. That's how their technology works. And they effectively use, they call it AI startups, and there are a lot of names that they give to it, and these startups create a lot of solutions for them. And this precision targeting cannot be done so easily, so they use AI because they are processing streaming videos from the head cams of soldiers who are there in Gaza, videos that have been confiscated from areas where they had sanitized, and previous information about that location, whatever information they have, they put everything together as a big data. Using that, they are generating locations where they are supposed to take people out. So they are correlating all that, but in spite of all that, human involvement is always there. So for critical information, we cannot let the AI take full control. AI will do a supportive role, just like fire helps us cook, but you need a person to cook it. Of course, you see robots, it's good when you look at videos, but eating the food, you will know a difference between something cooked with love and something cooked on a machine. We have dosa machine, ATM machines, then idli machines coming in and all that. But what we do, piping hot idli coming down and served with love is different from that is a compromise we'll have to make, in real time. And remember that AI is here to make our lives easier, not to take over our life. Because people thought machine learning would transform, deep learning would transform everything. But even with deep learning, you will have to, like Sir said, work with the data and let the data train onto the model. So it takes time, it takes effort, and we cannot fully let the model take over. Okay, there should be some control, human intervention in order to make it happen. They had a Facebook experiment wherein they created 2 chatbots, made the 2 chatbots converse with each other. They evolved their own language, which the humans were not able to understand, and they stopped the communication between them. This was 2 years earlier. It's old news, but that's the idea you will have to keep behind your mind. You can use it for forecasting, like our weather prediction system. You can use it for predictions of failures. You can use it on supply chains in an assembly line. Those are all very effective uses for AI, where safety of a human being is concerned. Underground tunnels, drainage, mining, for all this, robots and AI systems are really interesting. But where a human being makes a difference, it will not be replaced with the help of an AI. And also remember, if you do a repetitive task, if you just stand here, keep talking, and not updating yourself, you will be replaced by AI. You will have to be innovative, try new methodologies, think creatively, so that you try to attract people. You will never be falling short of that. Okay, so and I think that answers your question. Try using ChatGPT and the AI systems that are available in order to maybe make a assignment that you had already done, and compare it with the assignment that you had written to see how better it is. It may look better in the first look, but your content would be totally different. Okay, can you try it now? Maybe for a few minutes till food is ready.
Some of us may have tried the original one today.
Oh, you're going to try the.
Earlier itself, some of us might have used ChatGPT. So now we may have to use original.
No, you were writing it here. Oh, you use ChatGPT to gain understanding. One caution is that generative AI can prevent you from thinking. So you go to generative AI only for specific reasons. You keep because with calculators we forgot arithmetic. With word processing we forgot spellings. And now with ChatGPT you're gonna forget your art of writing. With mobile phones, we forgot writing itself, because I show a PPT, these fellows will take a mobile and click a picture. No, we are losing a lot of skills that we are supposed to basically have. And once you lose all your skills, then you become worthless. So you can easily be replaced. That's how systems are trying to take over. So don't lose all your basic skills. Your basic stuff, we can use it when there is heavy calculations, we use it as a tool, but please don't replace your brain with all those stuff, because later on you will not be employable when your basic skills are not present. Okay, and all these skills are important in order to think creatively. Without those writing skills, reading skills, social skills of interacting, you have your mobiles and you keep interacting on Facebook and WhatsApp, you are not developing your own social skills. And later on you will not be industry worthy, no? You will not fit into any job in the industry. So all these are some of the downsides of AI, and unless we are very careful about it, even if we are excited, still there should be some kind of a human control in order to do that. Okay. So please try out and then we will go for lunch.